In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Do you want the whole truth?
I don't think you're ready.
Governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people.
It's Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Welcome back. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Coming up in a few moments, we'll be speaking with Ben Johnson, U.S. Bureau Chief, LifeSite News. It'll be great to speak with him. Haven't talked to him in a while, and he is a regular guest as well as a guest host on this program. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. The hearings today to recap what we did last hour. So if you missed it, afa.net/nothing but truth. afa.net/nothing but truth. You could also go to American Family Radio's Nothing But Truth page, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. That's right. Facebook page. Like the page. Love to get up to 5,000. My goal is to 5,000 this week. 5,000 likes. Join the conversation. You can agree, disagree. I'm just glad you're here and you're a part of things and getting the truth. Of course, nothingbuttruth.com, always a place to go and tremendous resource for you. Now, let's go to what we covered last hour, which was the breakdown of the statements that proved to be at odds with the truth, at odds of the record of Sebelius, Kathleen Sebelius was making today. Arnold Allard came on. He, of course, detailed part of his column, which will be released tomorrow, which will be must-read, about what has taken place and where this is going. And where it's going is a single-payer system. As you recall on this show, Crane Durham, Ovik Roy, and I disagreed. I said it was going toward a single-payer system, and Ovik said that he understood that, but did not share that destination point. Nonetheless, I look at Ovik Roy, another incredible resource when it comes to understanding Obamacare, as well as Paul Howard from the Manhattan Institute. Both Manhattan Institute scholars, great place to go, great resource. That's what I want this to be for you as well. It's a place where you say, okay, where can I get the facts? And I don't have a lot of time. I need to get to them. Boom. There you have it. Arnold Allard spoke also of the military purge that is being covered now with the Investors Business Daily article, as I referenced to. It came out today, and I said, wow, this is remarkably similar to yours, Arnold, and yours was released last week. So that all said, I had a great conversation with him, and then we spoke to the solutions in healthcare. The solutions in healthcare, because you got to have solutions, right? You all, great calls. Wonderful. Appreciate it. Thomas and Lance and up in Pennsylvania, Charlie. Great calls. Really engaging. And if I forgot somebody, my apologies. I didn't forget the content. I just forgot the name because I need a teleprompter. But bottom line, we appreciate you. Thank you for being part of things. Now, oh, yeah, North Carolina. Who did we talk to in North Carolina? I'm blanking. Blanking, yes. All right. Well, it was a great call, and appreciate that. And that's another thing I want you to recognize every time I start mentioning places and people where they called. You're a lot larger than you think. You don't know your own strength, and the enemy doesn't want you to know their own strength, okay? Because the more you engage and be salt and light and speak truth and love, you're taking out what the enemy is trying to do. So understand that. Was that the political side? Was that No, I'm talking about Jesus Christ, speaking truth and love, getting engaged. Really important. Mike Rogers got engaged today. Engaged? Well, engaged on the issue of healthcare and security when it came to healthcare. In his questioning today, he spoke to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Marilyn Tavener, and read part of a memo. Memo was September 27th. Remember, the website launched on October 1st. And it read in part, the security contractor has not been able to test all of the security controls in one complete version of the system. And we go now to, and it's a rather long clip, but this is what I mean by having things coordinated. If they would have coordinated this message with 2 other messages, it would have been great. But the Republicans and conservatives didn't do that. So not as effective as they could have been, not even close. That said, here is Mike Rogers. Yeah, he's the chairman of the House Intel Committee, but here he is asking about this memo, September 27th, quoting it, regarding the security that has not been tested. Roll it.
It says, due to system readiness issues, the security control assessment was only partly completed. This constitutes a risk that must be accepted before the marketplace day one operations. And so let me tell you what you did. You allowed the system to go forward with no encryption on backup systems. They had no encryption on certain boundary crossings. You accepted a risk on behalf of every user of this computer that put their personal financial information at risk because you did not even have the most basic end-to-end test on security of this system. Amazon would never do this. ProFlowers would never do this. Kayak would never do this. This is completely an unacceptable level of security. And here's the scary part. We found out after the contractors last week that an end-to-end test hadn't been conducted on security, not functionality, because if it's not functioning, you know it's not secure. You are ongoing hot patches without end-to-end tests. The private contractors told us it would take a very thorough 2 months just for an integrated end-to-end security test that I'll tell you has not happened today. Why? Because you're constantly adding new code every night to protect the functionality of the system. You have exposed millions of Americans because you all, according to your memo, believed it was an acceptable risk. Don't you think you had the obligation to tell the American people that we're going to put you in this system, but you beware, your information is likely to be vulnerable?
Great question. And then he gets an answer, but not before he follows up on that question. Roll it.
Would you commit today, Secretary, to shut down the system and give an end-to-end security test so that these Americans can have their information?
No, sir. If you read the memo, it goes
I have
on
read
to
it.
say that weekly testing of our border devices, including interface testing, daily, weekly scans are going on. This is a temporary authority.
Candidly, that's not what the memo says.
A temporary.
Number one. And number two, the contractors will tell you it's not happening.
Sir, I would just say this document is a document signed by Administrator Tavner, which discusses mitigation strategies for security that are ongoing and upgraded, and a authorization to operate on a permanent basis will not be signed until these mitigation strategies are satisfied. It is underway right now, but daily and weekly monitoring and testing is underway.
Mr. Chairman, there are people using this system today, and she's just admitted again the system isn't secure, nor has it been tested.
And Waxman interjected there. I took out the one part where it was kind of a funny back and forth, not really funny, regarding the way Rogers was asking the question. But as he said, the website was not secure enough. It wasn't secure. The memo details that, and then she tried to spin it, and he came back and said, no, I've read it. Sorry. This is what bothers me. And I think you and pretty much any American who's watching or listening, you're being lied to. And they're throwing this turkey in front of you. And maybe you don't feel the consequences right now, but you're going to. And it has to directly deal with your health, your life. And when I think about this, I think about me. Like you, I think about my wife. I think about my kids. I think about their kids and what kind of system we're going to have. I look across the pond and I say, oh, no. You know, I look at members of my family who've overcome and gotten through prostate cancer. Think about that. Look at the mortality rates there. When we look at other healthcare systems and look at who's making those decisions. And that's something actually Charlie spoke to from Pennsylvania, which was right spot on. Yeah, it's frustrating enough when they're inside the womb and they have no say over their life being taken, sucked out, killed. and then we think about it outside. But maybe this is a good way to relate just that, about the decision being made by a government. If you live or die. Don't be so dramatic. It is dramatic. It is real, and it's happening, and we're on our way. Ben Johnson is the U.S. Bureau Chief of LifeSite News. He is also the guest host of Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, and he joins us now. Ben, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
Good to be with you again. Thanks so much, Crane.
Absolutely. Well, where do we begin? Why don't we begin with the hearings today, and then I want to move to Texas or anything else you'd like to cover in the area of life. You are the U.S. Bureau Chief of LifeSite News, and I wanted to ask you about the questions about the HHS mandate. Specifically, I believe John Shimkus was questioning Kathleen Sebelius regarding this, and he wanted a list of the services that would be provided, and if, in essence, he's trying to get clarity when it comes to the issue of people being able to purchase insurance, having to purchase insurance that does not include abortion, and he wants to get that list. Your thoughts on Sebelius and where we are with the mandate?
It was an exciting moment, and I was so glad that John Shimkus had the opportunity to take that question and to ask that question. If anyone has the opportunity to look at the YouTube video of the back and forth, you can see Sebelius has obviously had a very difficult time over the last few weeks. The Obamacare rollout is in bad shape. Healthcare.gov needs CPR right now, and Sebelius knows that her job is on the line. And she's on the firing line out there, tells everyone to hold her responsible. For the first 30 minutes of her testimony, the healthcare website had crashed nationwide. So she's in a bad situation to begin with. And John Shimkus says, when it comes to the issue of abortion, if you watch the YouTube video, at that moment you hear her say, "Oh, here we go."
Okay, wait a second, real quick, because that's what I wanted to get. You heard that. You saw it, sure, in real time. And my question was, did she actually said that? Because she almost was just like, oh, here we go. I mean, this is an amazing clip. I'm going to post it right now. We didn't have an opportunity to get it for you tonight, to play it for you all. I'm putting it up on the Facebook page. But go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt, but I was wondering myself. Go ahead.
Yeah, she had an open mic, and a couple of times during the questioning period, she was kind of talking to herself, but it got picked up and broadcast. And so you hear her real-time reaction to these questions, which she presumably didn't want to air. But when you're in that much pressure, that much of a difficult situation, your job's on the line, sometimes you don't always think clearly. And that's what happened with her. John Shimkus said very, very simply, if I have a constituent or if anyone across this country right now wants to purchase a health care insurance package through Obamacare, how can they know if they're funding abortion or not? Because under Obamacare, what has happened is that healthcare agencies can charge a $1 abortion surcharge, and that will go to fund abortions. It's quote-unquote separate from your typical health insurance, so that federal money isn't there, but it's a Ponzi scheme. People pay $1, and that goes to fund abortion. And she said, I don't know how they'll find that out. I don't know if they can know that. The bottom line is, they can't. And then she says, I know the issue that you're talking about, very weary of the questioning, but I'll make sure that that's transparent. The thing is, no one so far has pointed this out except, I think, LifeSite News. Our coverage happened to point this out this morning. It's a lie. She was lying through her teeth. She was lying through her blue hair. It is impossible for you to do that. The law specifically states that you cannot disclose that during the previous portion. That's the way the bill is written, that any insurer is not allowed to disclose precisely what is in the package and whether that includes abortion or not, which is why Representative Chris Smith of New Jersey has introduced a new bill saying we should make all of this transparent and people should know when they're shopping around what they're buying. Can you imagine any place else where does this car have a four-cylinder transmission, four-cylinder engine? I mean to say, I know a lot about cars. 4-cylinder engine or a 6-cylinder engine or whatever. Well, we can't tell you. Just buy it and you'll enjoy how it runs. You have to buy it so you find out what's in it. You have to pass the bill so you can find out what's in it. Then you have to purchase the health care plan before you can find out what you're paying for. That's the way this entire administration has been operating. Everything is done in the dark. Everything is done in secret, and it's done in order to get people financing abortion and comfortable with the idea that their dollars through insurance is financing abortion around the country, so that when we go to a full-blown single-payer system, it can be incorporated that much easier. That's my speculation. Everything else is pure fact.
All right, and what I want to do is not only put up the clip, but I want to put up your article on it, Ben, as well, following this clip. I'm posting it now, but what you are saying is this exposes not only something that Sebelius didn't want to talk about, but she lied about it when she did.
She did. It's literally impossible for her to do what she said she was going to do. It would require a change in law, which is why Chris Smith's bill has to be passed. It has more than 70 co-sponsors already, and we need a lot more than that in order to get it not only through the House, but through the Senate. And of course, it's a democratically controlled Senate, but it shouldn't be an issue. If you're really pro-choice, then you should believe that people have the right to choose not to finance abortion with their health care dollars.
Tell me, Ben, when we're seeing this takeover, and you saw the hearing, obviously, today. You all following it, U.S. Bureau Chief, LifeSite News. We're always told that abortion is not an issue that we should be talking about in the sense of when we go to elections. People don't want to hear about this issue. I fundamentally believe that the conventional wisdom is way off on that. Nonetheless, it continues. Is this an effort to silence us in order to, I guess there's a strategy by those who actually would agree with the conventional wisdom, who may even share our beliefs, but say, oh, it's not good strategically. But do they realize that if we just keep telling the truth about abortion, that, as Shepard Smith said wrongly about marriage, that they're going to be on the wrong side of history, and they are?
Well, it is. I'm glad you mentioned those two issues together, because people always say millennials, younger generations, say 25 and younger, have an overwhelming support for gay marriage. Therefore, gay marriage is inevitable. They never say that about the pro-life position, even though that same generation is the most pro-life generation in history. They never say the pro-life movement is inevitable. Quite the contrary. So it's simple media manipulation. They pick out data that support their case and ignore the facts that are inconvenient. And you see this even within our own party, or many people are Republicans, and I think I'm a registered independent. But even within the Republican Party, where most pro-life people are, you see an attempt to read the pro-life movement and pro-family movement out of it. The former head of Homeland Security, the first leader of the Homeland Security Department under President Bush, Tom Ridge, who was governor of Pennsylvania, just recently said that people who oppose gay marriage are in favor of tyranny, and that pro-life, pro-family people are narcissists and ideologues. And then he went on to say that we're a threat to civility in the political discussion, after basically reading us out of the human race. So you see this, and in fact, TheHill.com had a piece today that some of the major players in the Republican Party are asking for business leaders and others in the Republican Party to step up and get involved in the Senate primaries this coming year for 2014 in order to explicitly to counteract people like Jim DeMint and the Senate Conservatives, Heritage Action, and other organizations that are conservative, Tea Party oriented and tend to be more favorable to our values, who believe that social issues are important, that there's more to the Republican Party than sheer economics. They tried their best to run a strict economic monotone in 2012. Mitt Romney really genuinely believed that he was going to get elected if everyone just looked at their balance sheet. And in fact, he took out exactly one commercial on abortion to say that he was in favor of it in certain circumstances, rape and incest, and to save the life of the mother. That was the only time that he ever addressed abortion whatsoever. and his economic monotone didn't work. John McCain's national security monotone didn't work. In fact, I think I know more people who voted for Sarah Palin as vice president than I know voted for McCain for president. As much as I respect his national service and his biography. Yeah, absolutely. But nonetheless, these attempts to say social conservatives should go away when, in fact, the foot soldiers and the heart and soul of the party is specifically those who are pro-life and pro-family, is very dangerous. It has already cost them 2 presidential elections, and if they go on with this, it's going to cost them their chance to retake the Senate next year and the presidency 2 years after that.
We can't do it without the foundation of we can't do it without God. We can't do it without the idea of we can't do it without addressing our culture, our Judeo-Christian foundation. And what gets me, Ben, is, and Jerry Boyer, I know you know Jerry, and it was talking about this the other day. You just made the point in another way, which is, hey, we can't ignore life. We can't ignore our culture. Arnold Allard was on last hour talking about what the devastation is when we speak to the social ills, if you will, the fallout of having children born out of wedlock. I thank God that they're being born. Yes, they're choosing life. Okay, great. But if we don't really put the father in there and we allow the state to be the daddy, the state's a really bad daddy. And taking God out, well, we've seen in history, and I've read your work detailing what happens when that happens. Ben?
Well, we see that everything that was put in place in Western civilization we take for granted actually was a unique development if you compare it to world history going before that. Our respect for life, our respect for pluralism, our respect for differences, all of that comes from a specific cultural history tied in with religion. Religion is the foundation of culture, and culture defines the limits of politics. So the way that people worship and what they believe ultimately frames what is politically possible in one way or another. And when you see religion start to give way, then suddenly a new vista opens up in front of us, and it's one that leads toward Leviathan. We've seen it in cultures that were specifically antagonistic to religion, specifically tried to inculcate atheism in people or tried to inculcate some other insane ideology. In the case of communism in the Soviet Union, Nazism in Germany, and other totalitarian ideologies around the globe, you have a complete and utter disdain for life.
Gotcha.
And it is specifically the idea that man is created in imago Dei, in the image of God, and that endows him with a certain inalienable rights that can never be taken away, because I am the Lord thy God. I kill and I make alive. We believe that is the foundation of our culture. That's the foundation of our religion, which forms our culture, which forms our politics.
I only have to add, thank you. Live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart. Always keep the faith in Jesus Christ. Everyone, God loves you. Crane Durham's nothing but truth. Ben Johnson, love you, brother. AFR Talk.